Hello and welcome to the Flory Models Friday Roundup Show. Here we are with you on the 11th of March 2022. A really busy week this week. This is one of those weeks that I feel like I've actually got on and done loads. Not only, as you can see, we've been pushing on really nicely down in here with the Hurricane, but finally the lady that is the Hornet is actually in paint. We've actually just put on the light ghost grey down in there, so pushing along very well with that. So definitely got a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel this week, getting this one pushed along quite nicely. Anyway, it all started on Monday. So on there we have part 7 of the Hornet video build went up with you, and again it's a bit of a one on this. We were looking at sort of, you know, attaching this front canopy and getting it to go down, because again it doesn't go down particularly well. It turns out that the instrument panel's a little bit too wide, so then that pushes the instrument panel combing too wide, which means it then basically won't fit the canopy around it. So it's one of those things, you've got to find out which bit is at fault and then address it accordingly. So we sanded that out, we did that one, got that sorted, and then it was all about the seam line. And we say seam line, it's not a seam line. This has got a mold mark right the way through it. So sometimes we talk about injection molding in canopies. If you're lucky enough to get a good manufacturer, you might be able to mold it in one. If not, they sort of do it in half. So what happens is you've got half of the mold is on one side, half is on the other, but unfortunately we get a big seam line down the middle, which is normally okay if it's just a surface seam line. So if these two halves, when the injection molding system came in, were nice and hot, they would have made it quite seamless right the way through, and that way you've just got a panel line, if you like, left in the top, which you can just scrape away and remove. The trouble is though, if it's not done correctly under the injection molding process, you can actually get a distortion right the way through the plastic that runs right the way through your clear part, and there's not a great deal you can do. This is one of those ones where you make the best out of a bad situation, because you will still see that sort of ripple in the clear plastic even when it's polished up afterwards. But anyway, we took out the seam line, so we say start off, we go in there with scrapers, then we go in there with some sander, so like a medium sander to take it out, and then we go in there with various polishing ones right the way through. And as I say, using a nice soft sponge so you don't get a flat spot. It's just a case of once you've made a bit of a mess, it's bringing it back. So again, I'm not a massive fan of dipping your canopies and all the rest of it. I do like to polishing them up, so it's just a case of working through all the different grips. So that was the way, and then ended up with the polisher going right the way through, and there we go. We're not looking too bad at all. We get that one done. All right, then we were doing some other work as well, so we were getting some surface primer, just taking care of any small little imperfections. Obviously these tail planes have been quite a problem putting those on, so getting those all nice and smooth, and then eventually with a little bit of a polish, using a little bit of car polish on this one, to be honest, to clean them up. You can see it's not bad. There's still that ripple through here, but at least it's not a seam line anymore. And then we go through the motions about masking it up. So again, usually I'll use a mask set, but on something like a modern fighter, I don't think it's a problem. If it's a complex one, like, let's face it, World War II, like I've got the Hurricane in front of me, then I might buy a mask set for it. But if it's just literally a couple of curves, simple curves, and you've got easy panels to follow, things like that, like luckily we do on this one, it's just as easy to put down a little bit of your own masking tape and put it on there. Then obviously we had a little bit of filler work still to take care of, because it, you know, as we would expect, it's not a perfect fit, the actual canopy on this one, so we had to do a little bit of fettling in there, a little bit of filler work, sanding and polishing to take care of all of that one. And that brings us up to date actually on the Hornet video build, so that one is up with you right now just there. Tuesday, I'll be honest with you, Tuesday was a funny day for me. Talk about a tale of two halves. It was a really great day, and I thought I did a very nice video covering what I was getting up to during the day, which, to be honest, was working on the Hurricane. So I did a vlog, and then at the back of the vlog I did a sort of well, not like a time lapse, but basically a set of sequences of short little clips of me doing all the work on the Hurricane, because I basically do all the camera work in one day. But obviously, because of things that are going on in the world, and I don't want to get flagged again for this, but obviously I did speak about donating to charity and some of the charities that are available and things like that. Unfortunately, some of the members didn't like me talking about it, and it was asked to be removed. So again, seeing as you guys pay my wages, I removed it. So unfortunately that video has been now removed off of it, and it's not there. I know most of the membership probably saw it before it got pulled, but anyway, that video was pulled. Apologies if I did upset anybody. Personally, I don't think it did, and I still stand by everything I said, but obviously I might have upset a few people on that one. Anyway, we did push on though, and on the Wednesday we had the PM show. So obviously it's me, Matt and Andy, and we're talking all things PM store related, and obviously we're talking a little bit about kit manufacturing and when certain things started. And we carried this over as well into last night's show, but we were talking about riveting. When did riveting, as in recess riveting, start to become the norm? When did manufacturers move over to that? So it's quite an interesting show, and obviously we're talking about new releases and various bits and pieces, as you can imagine, down in there. Also, Matt put up a short tutorial, this second tutorial, and it's basically about weathering, painting and weathering up tyres. So again, it's all the painting stage, and obviously these are vinyl tyres, and then going through with oils and pigments and various things to weather them up. So there's a short video there, and obviously it is a free to watch one as well. All right, so you can go off and actually see that on there. Thursday, obviously last night, was the live show with me and the guys. All the team were on, and it was usual discussion and giggles as we do on the live show right the way through with that one. So if you want to go off and see that, you can do. Obviously we're continuing the discussion on about riveting and various bits and pieces, and obviously answering all your questions from down in the question area. And that brings us up to the Hurricane. So this is a sort of continuation from the Tuesday show in a lot of ways, but going through the motions of this one. So we've gone a little bit old school. Again, this is the ocean grey on the top, and then we were doing the bleaching effect to knock it back a little bit, just to give us a little bit of panel line differences and things like that. It's pretty essential to do it on the bigger scale models, shall we say, because unfortunately if you don't, what's going to happen is, you know, you're literally going to have this giant toy looking thing. So a good way of stopping it look like a toy is to go in there with a little bit of bleaching work. So that's what we do. We lighten up the paint and we go through the motions of it down on there, and you end up here. One of the techniques I've been doing recently is that I've been mixing gloss white. To be honest, it is, what's the number? It is LP2, which is Tamiya's lacquer gloss white, in with my paint. The paint itself is more of a satin finish, so as you can see it, and it shows it really nicely here in the photos, it gives it a 3D look. Even though there is no stressed skin on this, clearly, or anything else like that, by mottling in this sort of gloss coat onto it, it gives it a more three-dimensional look. I've done it on the last few models now, but literally this is the thing. If you've got like a satin paint or a flat paint and you want to add a little bit more than just a light coat to it, you can actually go in with a gloss effect, and then that way as you catch it in the light, it reflects it. And I think it just looks really, really nice. So it gives it that sort of stressed skin effect, when in theory it hasn't got any of it on there at all. And again, you can see the comparison on both sides. One side's all done, the other side's not. So again, it just shows you how much that comes alive, which is really, really nice. Then we did the masking. So again, this moves on slightly from what we did in the tutorial section when we did the Spitfire. So from that one, what we actually did was very similar. We blew up the actual instructions onto just normal white paper to get me the correct scale. So it's the same scale as what we're doing, as in 24th scale. And then we used the actual paper as a template on there. Last time what we did was we used like 40mm Tamiya tape, and then we sort of drew it onto it, if you like, and then obviously we cut that out and stuck the Tamiya tape to it as a hard edge camo. But obviously in 1/24 scale we want it to be a little bit lighter. So what we did on this one, we cut it out just on the paper, and then we just lightly clipped it into place, and if not, we had a little bits of white tack underneath it just to make the edge feather. Now the point of this is that when you spray near it, it will vibrate. The actual edges of it will flutter. And it will give you a slightly soft edge to your camo work. So you don't want your clips right up to the edge. You probably see on this bottom one how it's a little bit stepped back. So when you are painting and going through the motions of it, it just gives it that ability to move just a little bit, and you get a nice softer line down in there. So it's a great way, and if you use the old tack worm, which is using the old white tack sausages, and you use that, it's very similar to that because it's giving that nice soft edge. But the great thing about using the instructions, as you can see here, when you need to line up your camo work, you can see exactly where it is because you've got all the details on the paper that need to line up with your model, like panel lines. As you see, you can see where the rudder is here and all the rest of it. So it's just quite a straightforward one. And when you take it off, as you can see, you get a nice softer line. It's not like a hard edge taped line or anything else like that. It's just got a little softer line to it. And again, we did exactly the same on the wing. So again, it's nice because you can follow the panel lines to make sure you've got your actual markings are going to line up exactly where you want them as well. But again, you can probably see down in here there's just a slight lift in it, which gives you a nice little softer edge to it, so when you are painting, as you can see, you get a nice soft line to it right the way through. And then again, it's just going to be a case of rinse and repeat on here. So we go back, and to be honest, we do a little bit of fading back of the green. Wasn't happy, changed the colour, and actually it's quite nice because it's given a sort of three-tone green look to it right the way over on that one. And as you can see, down in there and finishing it off. And here she is. So again, we've got the decals onto it. I got a little bit confused last night, if I'm honest. I got further ahead than I thought I was, because when I was doing the editing of it this morning, we had tons of footage. So that part is up there now, and then obviously next Friday you'll get this one, and it is like a 45-minute, 50-minute video that will get you to here, because obviously we talk about the decaling, we talk about doing the weathering effect to it and things like that. The decals have gone on absolutely fantastic. They've been bedding in really well, which isn't an easy task when you think about the actual surface detail is in this riveting detail on the top of these wings to get these in. But yeah, no, it's in there. She's looking really, really nice. Today, to be honest, I've been pushing on with the Hornet we'll look at in a moment. But yeah, we have got light at the end of the tunnel with this one. She's really starting to come together now and looking the part. Again, it's in the nice Polish markings as well, a little bit of a homage this week. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So next week we will be, that's not stuck on yet, it's just the for effect, but we will be getting on with the actual, no, it's not going to sit there, weathering a bit. So again, this is going to be one of those, it's going to be very similar to what we did to the Spitfire for the tutorial build, but the thing is, obviously this is going to be pretty much heavy duty because of the scale of this. We want it to look right, so we might do some more post shading. We've got to weather in these decals, things like that, so there's a ton of work to do on this one. Luckily, all the gear is all done and ready to go and be fitted onto this, but obviously we want to take care of all the weathered surfaces, get those down, and then obviously we can get the canopy installed and the guns and the various bits and pieces to it just like that. But I am happy with it. She's really come along very, very nicely, and I have to say, for a 60 quid kit, it's a bargain. If you want a 24th scale Hurricane trumpeter every single time, because yeah, PM Store's got them up at 60 quid, it's a fantastic kit. And I know people have been saying to me for many years about it, and I was thinking, oh yeah, it's an old trumpeter, early 2000s, how good could it be? I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It has been a lot of fun, which can't be said for its nemesis over here. But actually this thing is really come to life now. Now we finished all the work onto this one and it is all ready to go. It's a case of fantastic. As I say, all the control surfaces and the tailplanes are all painted, everything's done. It's now just ready for getting it masked up. We'll do the top coat, and then obviously we've got black work to do and all the rest of it onto it. But again, looking really, really good with this one. And yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for this kit. I can't deny it. I know I've hated it since the moment we started doing it, but actually now I'm thinking, do you know what? It's coming along very, very nicely. Anyway, so we've got lots of stuff down there. Just if you're wondering what I'm talking about with the tutorials area, if you haven't seen it yet, just before or just after Christmas, I did a series of videos using the 30-second Revell Spitfire. And this covers literally, as you can see, I won't bore you to death with it all because a lot of you have seen this 100 times, but we cover everything from the basics of gluing, the basics of weathering, the basics of obviously rescribing, doing wing roots, wing joins, you know, you can see it in here. So this isn't just photos, it's videos. So you've got full videos down here. So we've got ones about planning your build and looking ahead. We've got removing parts now. Obviously we've got ones on basics of things like glues. We've got things about flash, talking about flash. We've got ones about construction and gluing parts together, when to use different types of glues, things like that. We got one on using styrene filler and then scrape cleaning and stuff like that down in there. And again, these are joined by other ones like how to make your own styrene filler, how to sand a model and things like that. You know, we got ones on rescribing and re-riveting, but these were all taken from this particular video section down in here. So the entire construction section is all down in there, as you can see. And then if you flick over to the next series down on basics of airbrushing, that will then cover into here as well, because down in here we've got things about setting up your airbrush, we've obviously got the tools of the trade, and then again we're looking at different things, and then we're back to the Spitfire again. So we talk about obviously how to put down primer coats, and then obviously base coating, and then obviously this one is very similar. We've got down in here when we were talking about using the template system as well onto it and spraying it down, so forth and so on. Again, so you know, it's just one of those where it's got a nice series, and then if you want to follow it right the way through, you can go down to weathering. So again, we use used the Spitfire, you can see it here. So obviously the Hurricane hopefully will look something like this. And it's the same thing. So it's going to be going through all the motions of this one right the way through until hopefully you'll end up with something pretty darn good. You know, we go literally from a weathering from this stage to, if I click it backward, to that stage. So yeah, and all the little ones. So if you're ever wondering about these ones, because I know a lot of people say about, oh, I haven't seen the video on the actual Spitfire, this is where it is. It's not a standalone video. We broke it up into many parts to make it a lot easier to sort of swallow and take in and stuff like that. So again, if you're ever wondering why I refer to it in the video builds for this, or we're talking about it, that's why. So again, what I'm hoping to do is in the summer when things quieten down a little bit, I'm going to do another one, but it's going to be on advanced techniques. So again, this will be things like using metal finishes, weathering metal finishes and stuff like that as well. So it'll follow along in that sort of, you know, areas of it, but it'll be a lot more of the technical side of it right the way through. So again, it's one of those. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have the entire video section all set up and all ready to go with that one. And that was about it for this week. As I say, it's been one of those funny weeks. It's really flown, but I've actually been piled on doing loads of time in the bench and getting these all sorted and all together and getting the videos done. So I've got a pile of editing to get through now, which I'm going to be tackling over the weekend. Don't forget, over on the PM store, they got various bits and pieces going on down in there. So they've got in the new arrivals section. Well, obviously we talked about this on Wednesday, but we got some other bits and pieces down in there. So we got the BRZ Subaru, very nice indeed. And then obviously we've got the KB2 is back in as well. So that's the latest thing from Tamiya, as well as all the others just down in there. We've also got in on the specials. We got the special section that's just down in here. Some of these we're talking about obviously on the live shows this week, but we've got that flak system. Obviously we've got the half track, and again we've got the flak 20mm mounted, and all the other ones from Dragon, because there seems to be a bit of a Dragon one. Again, talking about this one, this is the Hurricane kit that I'm actually doing. It is sold out at the moment, but if you get in contact, we can get them in, and hopefully still at that price as well, because normally it's an 80 quid kit, but we were doing it for actually 60 quid. So but if you give us a bit of a heads up, if you email the PM store, then we can get your name down on a pre-order for that one for the next batch that come in. But again, we've got other ones, as I say, the damaged boxes and the other bits and pieces all down in here as well, so you can go off and see those ones. And that is it really for this week. So I'm going to leave you with your great work from the gallery. So until Monday, everybody, happy modelling, take care.
Wasted.